I'm Anthony Obanda. This is Patched Engines and Glitches version 2.5.7.1. This time we're actually making it compatible for 4K AR, VR. And in order to get all these updates, you must accept the privacy policy. So do you accept the new privacy policy, yes or no?
Yeah.
I hear yes, I'm sorry, you can't use your no ones.
Dang it!
I don't get to walk out of this. Dang it. Alright. So, before I actually get to all that fun stuff, the year is 2018. Think about what we've made so far. We got now the Battle Royale craze of today, and we have also a lot of disappointments. But it wasn't all disappointments. Trust me, it wasn't all disappointments. At least from what I remember when I was like 6. It wasn't all disappointments. We had other things, like actual quality games, but it just didn't happen overnight. Well, it sort of did with Fortnite. That was a joke. But in all seriousness, where we are today, it happened over many years, specifically starting with World War II. World War II, a gentleman by the name of Alan Turing cracked the Nazi Enigma machine and allowed the invasion of Normandy to happen. If you've seen The Imitation Game, you know exactly what I'm talking about, except that just ruins your perspective on everything because it's super depressing on everything, but it's still a good movie. Then afterwards, after the war, Alan Turing and David Chamberlain made a chess simulator in 1948 that was not published because games at this time were used only to test the capabilities of technology. As we do still today, we are taking all these games, upgrading them to the highest that they can go, and then running them on the strongest things that we have. Ian, you built your own PC, right? Mm-hmm. And all you're doing is just upgrading that, getting the best things you can for it, just see what you can run?
If I have to upgrade it, I'm building a new one so I can just kind of put them together.
You're upgrading just so you can continue pushing what your tech can do, right? Pretty much?
Cool. Pretty much.
That's what we're still doing. Dad, you did build your own PC, technically. Yep. You got new graphics card and everything.
Yep. Top of the line.
You see, even everyone is still pushing the limits of what we can do with what we got. Afterwards, in 1950, a tic-tac-toe simulator was used to test 2 different AIs fighting each other in a game of tic-tac-toe. Would you like to play a game?
What's that, a movie? War games?
War games. There you go. If I had candy, I'd throw some at you, but I don't. As they said, after the first year, I'm not allowed to bribe people with food anymore.
We'll meet up after.
We'll meet up, okay. I'll take care of that. 1958 was the first game actually made for entertainment, which was Tennis for Two, as seen with this image right here. It was sort of like Pong, but it's not Pong. We haven't hit 92 yet, so we don't have our Capcom SNK case. Space War was released in 63 by MIT as the first game actually for entertainment. No other purpose, it was just meant for fun. Commercialization afterwards began because of Space War, and we had our quarter cabinets that you go to the arcade and you say, okay, I'm going to play this. Put your quarter in, you start playing. You had Periscope in 67, Speedway in 69, and Pong. I don't know what year it was. That was my mistake in not putting that there. The Magnavox Odyssey was the first home console ever made, and then Atari would then rise afterwards and dominate the home console market. And let's just take a quick moment and remember that Ted Dabney, the co-founder of Atari, actually died this year, so it's a man right there that's a legend. After the home console rise, text-based games actually started. So this is where you have games like Zork being made. You have been eaten by a group. 1978 to 82, the golden age as it's been deemed, because this is when you have all the arcade machines dominating in the market, but it's still behind pinball machines and billiard tables. You had your early shoot-'em-ups here, so Space Invaders and Galaga, Pac-Man in 1980, Donkey Kong in 81, Q*bert in 82, and the Atari 2600 was released. That's a good thing and a bad thing, because it would lead to something that's important, but I'll get to that later. PC gaming this time actually started to increase because it's PC, it's good, it can still do things better than a console can, because all consoles do is put everything last gen out onto onto the whole market at a lower price. Because I think I would need maybe $2,000 to build my own PC now, more or less.
A little bit less, but yeah.
Around the $2,000 amount. This actually was the first time that handhelds were introduced with the Microvision and Game & Watch. So those of you who have played Smash Bros., you know we're judges. You know what the game judges. It was a game that you would both press a button, and then it would randomly generate a number, and if you had 9, you won. Just like in Melee. 9? So, with all great things must come to an end. The video game crash of 1983. American game companies freaking sucked. And by sucked, they were completing the games about 50%, shelling them out, saying, I don't care, just get something. I have a family to feed because I decided to make games and I'm not going to put effort into them. Doesn't that sound familiar? You have the very low quality games, but it wasn't just the low quality games that led to the crash. It was also the rise of PC Master Race. I put air quotes on Master Race because I'm going to get to that one later. The tipping point and what everyone uses to blame is Steven Spielberg's E.T. When that movie released, it was so popular that Atari bought in onto the hype and made a game for it. The problem was that it worked, but you needed to read the instruction manual. And out of all of us in this room, who's honestly sat down and decided to read the instruction manual, aside from me? Who actually has read the instruction manual of a video game?
I read it for fun.
Any video game out there in existence. Have you sat down and actually read the instruction booklet that comes with whatever game you buy off the shelf?
When I would rent the games, on the way home, I read it.
But let's be honest, a good bunch of people don't, especially if you're a 6-year-old in the 80s and you just saw E.T. for the first time. Like, oh my god, this is so great! And then you go get the game and then you realize it's bad. And you're mad because it's bad, because you didn't read the instructions. So, that led to the famous E.T. burial of '83, that they went into New Mexico and buried every single copy of E.T. They actually did a documentary on that a few years later and then found that all of them were still working. All copies were still working.
They went back and got them.
They went back and dug up the hole and they found the copies of E.T., put it into a 2600, and it still worked. But this is just America. We're forgetting that there's another nice nation, the other side of the globe, that's about to rise up and dominate the video game market for years to come. They're known as Nintendo. Originally as a card making company in the 1870s. Yeah, they've been around for a while. They saved the industry, to more or less to say, with the Famicom and Rob the Robot. Now, they called it the Famicom, we called it the Nintendo Entertainment System. But the goal was they did not market it as a video game console. They marketed it as a toy, because you had Rob to go with it. So they would put it out on the shelf, and they would also have the commercial say, it's not a game console, it's a toy. Although you have D batteries you need to put in there, and let's be honest, those are very expensive. How many of you still buy D batteries for any purpose? You don't count because you do a lot of tech things. I thought you were going to try to be asleep.
I was trying to sleep. That is entertaining.
I hope I got entertaining. If I did, I'm doing my job wrong. This is volunteer work anyway, this is not a job. But who really, aside from the D battery situation, Rob flopped. He would be immortalized though in Smash for gyro combos and gyro combos. Evan, did I mention gyro combos already? Yes, gyro combos. So he actually come packaged with 2 games. As we know that most games now come packaged with a game where they have a launch title to go with it. Rob's launch titles were Gyromite and Stack Up, which actually used a little gyro thing that he has. The whole thing was the controller was the gyro, and you'd also have your your NES controller, and you play like that. Yeah, it didn't do so well. But there are some people that actually still have these. So they're collector's items. If you get one, get one. They're hard to find. Just like me trying to find a Gen 2 Pokemon game. Okay. This is when our retro games now, what we have deemed as retro, although I think retro has updated now to anything before 2000, 2000?
360 and back is considered retro.
Oh my god, I'm old. 360 and back is now retro, and I'm 19. I'm old. But every now big type of game has been made. Every genre is now being created this time. You have the platformer, which was done by Super Mario Brothers, action action-adventure done by Legend of Zelda, Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy making RPGs, Metal Gear making stealth, and Sweet Home actually being the origin of the horror series, which would eventually give way to what we know as Resident Evil. Who's ready for Resident Evil 2 remake?
Yes.
Resident Evil 2,
Yes.
except I'm not going to be able to just stand there and look stupid. I need to go save the president's daughter. And then our favorite Russian guy making Tetris. I swear if someone actually pulls up the Tetris thing right now, I would give them props. I'd also look at them dirty. Now this is, all the cartridges are being sold and video games are back on the market. It's cool to play video games. Unless you're those middle school bullies that call you lame for doing so. And then to them I say, you're serving me my McFlurry at a McDonald's. Who's the lame one now? The first ever patch actually was done for an 85 PC game called Jet Set Willy for the ZX Spectrum because of its difficulty. How many of you have tried Dark Souls? Or have seen any gameplay of the Dark Souls types games? Yeah, I think anyone who actually is a hardcore player of those games can tell you just suck it up. It's the difficult. It's supposed to be hard. Yeah, you like that. You like being a masochist. You like it when the boss crushes you with his foot, don't you? It feels good when you get that you died. And then it feels even better when you beat it.
Yeah, I was about to say, you get that you died like 6-7 times on the same boss. Oh, there's nothing like finishing that boss right after like you just rage quit and had to buy a new controller because you did it.
Mainly because I probably have thrown Minority at the fireplace and the fire was going, so I got to set mine on fire. Now in 1990, after what we have as the 8-bit era, we now go into the 16-bit era. The Super Nintendo was made, and its competitor, the Sega Genesis, which actually is the first ever home console to be able to be connected to the internet, and you could download things from it. Now Nintendo of course was sticking with their cartridge system that they had. All their games were being sold on cartridge because 1, they load faster, and 2, they don't get damaged as easily compared to CD-ROMs, which were being introduced at this time. Now, as I had mentioned, Sega had made the Sega Genesis, which was able to connect to the internet. So this was really the first big console war between Nintendo and Sega. You had the SNES on one end with their launch title Super Mario Bros., and then you have Sega on the other end with their launch title. Can anyone tell me what that launch title is for Sega?
Sonic? I forgot the name. It's a racing game, isn't it?
I'm not sure, but the big title for them really was Sonic.
It
and that's
was
what,
Sonic.
it wasn't the launch title. I don't even remember what it was. I thought I had written it somewhere, but I didn't. But they did get famous not because of the launch title, but because of Sonic the Hedgehog. So after that, Nintendo decides to go mobile. They make the Game Boy with its old dot matrix setup and your AA batteries for it. And we also let's take a quick moment and thank Mortal Kombat for bringing in the ESRB rating system, because fatalities are nice and everything, but parents have a problem with Timmy seeing someone's spine ripped out. I never played Mortal Kombat, so there was no problem on my end. So this is when really the arcades genre dies out. All your arcade games have sort of died out. We still have Street Fighter arcade games, still, until 1999 with the last one really for arcades being Third Strike, although if you go to Japan, you'll find a Street Fighter 5 arcade cabinet out there, because Japan. And we've seen a lot of knockoffs, I bet, in places like the mobile market with the new Battle Royale craze. You go in there, you're most likely going to find a knockoff game pretty quickly. Well, there was a knockoff game at this time, the Philips CDI games. To those of you who don't know what those are, they are these god-awful games that I will go in more depth about later. But the most important thing from this era was a very important thing actually I should say, was the Capcom SNK lawsuit. Now Capcom had released their very influential game to this date still that would actually create the fighting genre, because they had made a game in '89 called Street Fighter, or Fighting Street in Japan. And it was bad. Those of you who've actually played a modern fighting game, you see that you have sort of like this. You have this setup here. Yeah, it wasn't that way for Fighting Street. You had the health bar stacked on top of each other, your timer was right here, and then you had to keep track of the fight. That's too much for my eyes to do. I don't have time for this. So they went. So the people that actually had made that left and went to make SNK. But then Capcom was hard at work hammering out Street Fighter 2. Made 8 playable characters, and then they had made the 4 final boss characters, and everything was set and go. They put it in arcade. It was a hit. But the people from SNK said, okay, they made a fighting game, we'll make a fighting game. And they made The Art of Fighting in '92, and then Capcom attempted to sue them for it, for copyright infringement. But because they had used the exact same things for everything, they used these same mechanics, such as quarter circle forward for your fireballs, quarter circle back for your spin kicks, and zigzag motions for your uppercuts. Capcom was not okay with this, so they attempted to sue them over it. And the verdict was that you can copyright the character names and move names. So Hadouken is copyrighted, and I can't actually use that. Make sure we use a trademark on that whenever I say that. Just so if we decide to subtitle this, just put a trademark next to Hadouken. And I think I said that like 3 times in there. So it's a lot of trademarks we gotta write in. So
one right over your face.
Yeah, let's just do that. That's fine. I'm okay with it. Just make sure whoever's managing the YouTube channel gets word of that. All right. So the verdict was you can copyright the character names. So I can't use Ken Masters in my game, and I can't use Ryu in my game without having to pay Capcom a lot of money. But that you can't copyright mechanics and stereotypes. So I can go make my own fighting game now. Or I could go make my own battle royale game or stealth game. I can make whatever I want, because you can't copyright mechanics. As I said, some notable games of this era was Mortal Kombat for creating the ESRB rating system, Killer Instinct for creating the biggest arcade cabinet patch for a combo with Cinder that all you do is forward punch, up down kick, forward punch, up down kick. And you just keep them in the air infinitely and they can't come back down. And you win in about 15 seconds. So that's where the quadruple S tier is. May it forever remain in our memories about a quadruple S tier. Street Fighter 2 for starting fighting games and giving us the greatest theme song of all time for a fighting game, known as Guile's theme. There's no other fighting themes in that game, it's just Guile's theme. You don't need anything else. Kirby's Dream World, made by Masahiro Sakurai in '92 as the last NES game. He actually intentionally wanted to make it for a previous generation because the hardware was easier to work with, everyone had done everything they possibly could with it, and it saves on money. And as I had mentioned about the CDI games, we have the famous Faces of Evil, Wand of Gamelon, Zelda's Adventure, Hotel Mario. They're non-licensed Nintendo games, but boy do they make great memes. My boy! No. And 1992 for releasing Sonic the Hedgehog as the biggest competitor to Mario. Now it's the end of '96, and we think it's a good idea to make something known as the Virtual Boy, because, okay, we have a handheld, let's make it 3D. I cannot begin to tell you where they messed up. It came in 2 colors, red and black, and it hurt your eyes and it used up way too much batteries. So back when Radio Shack was around, Radio Shack would make a lot of profit off of you coming and get some batteries. But after that, Nintendo was working on a hidden project. It was the Ultra 64 engine. Now, unfortunately, they kind of told Rareware they were making it, so then when they were advertising Killer Instinct, they said, it's only going to be on the Ultra 64 engine. So Nintendo was just slamming their heads on the desk saying, why did we tell them this? Now we got to push this. And when they had to make the home port, they actually had to make it for the Super Nintendo instead of the 64 because the hardware wasn't available at the time. This is everyone's fault. But after that, the Nintendo 64 was made to make up for the flop that was the Virtual Boy with its launch title, Super Mario 64. And if you want to know more about 64, Ian over there can tell you all about it, as he streams more 64 than I can put on one hand.
My name is 64 in it.
Of course! So yes, Nintendo 64, one of my favorite home consoles, and I still have mine out with Pokemon Stadium in it. The PlayStation was made because of a failure of hardware crafting for the 64. They were attempting to make the disk drive for it, and then they said, no, we're just going to scrap it. Take it away. It's not going to work. So it didn't get to America, But then Sony got it, and they said, okay, we're going to make our own. They made the PlayStation 1, which would then eventually become the new competitor to Nintendo. Sega's still in the game somehow, and they made the Sega Saturn. And probably one of my favorite mascots of all time, Segata Sanshiro. Am I the only one that still knows who he is? Am I the only one that still cares about Segata Sanshiro?
You're too old.
I'm 19 though. I'm not too old. So, since we had already released a game, Nintendo had already released a Game Boy, it was in black and white. Let's make it in color. They released a Game Boy Color during this era. And now PC is getting access to making things in 3D. Well, they already have, but they just haven't put it on the market because PC is elite that way. PC users. Coming for you after this. I mean, yes, this presentation is done on a PC.
At least it's not Mac.
True. I'm a PC. I'm a Mac. So, while PC does have Doom, which is really a big 3D shooter, although it wasn't 3D, it was actually all 2D. 3D, because I can still have my shotgun pointed here and I'm aiming at something at the ceiling. That's how you work with tech. You do things that are impossible. Eventually the Xbox would be made in 2001. Not the Xbox One, just the Xbox. I want to call it Xbox One so bad because it's the first Xbox, but I can't. Sue me, Microsoft. Sue me. We have a lot of games to go through and not enough time. Super Mario 64 96 is a very notable 3D platform. 007 GoldenEye is a very popular console shooter that would dominate college dorms to come until 1999 when Super Smash Bros. Was released. Perfect Dark Zero as a refined version of GoldenEye with original characters. Super Smash Bros. 1999, made by Masahiro Sakurai and would become the first brawler and is still a popular fighting game to this day. Pokemon 1996, one of the most popular RPGs still around today, and its 7th generation, going on 8 as of next year. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1999, first popular extreme sports games. If it weren't for them, Madden would have gotten popular. I'm giving credit to Tony Hawk because I grew up playing it. Fight me. Crash Bandicoot 96, a new competitor to Nintendo, released on the PlayStation. Banjo-Kazooie is a critically acclaimed platformer. I don't know why people love this game. I never played it. But then did we get a remake of it, or a spiritual successor, I should say. A spiritual successor that flopped. JonTron was supposed to be in it, but they had to cut his voice out. Doom in 1993 is the first 3D shooter for PC, eventually going to be ported to all the home consoles many years later. Final Fantasy VII in 97 as the first big 3D RPG that would totally change RPGs as we know it. Halo Combat Evolved in 2001 to give way to the Halo series. It's still a very popular title for Xbox. And what has been deemed two of the greatest games of all time. Half-Life 1, released in 1998, and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, released in 1998. Two games that are still being argued as the best games of all time. What?
Majora's Mask is better.
Fight me. Ocarina of Time is doing better.
Majora's Mask.
Hey! Listen!
I don't have that Majora's
Hey!
Mask.
Listen! Hey! Listen!
Still have the gold card holograph before that.
Listen! These two games, but there's going to be something that knocked Ocarina of Time out of its deemed #1 slot that would come actually as a launch title for the Switch. I'm going to get to that later. Alright, here's where the bias begins. I'm 19. I grew up with this stuff. Probably some of you did as well if you're around my age. You grew up with everything that's about to happen. So, a game from 1999 made by our boys down at Valve, Counter-Strike, would eventually go on, well, I should say, Half-Life actually gave way to Counter-Strike. It was modded entirely from the source engine. So then you have Counter-Strike being made, and then we would eventually get Counter-Strike Global Offensive many years later as a very big competitive game. Life simulations, Will Wright making The Sims in 2000. The Shenmue series introduced the QuickTime event, so if you want to dodge that projectile, press triangle now. Or whatever console you're on, I don't know. Or if you're PC, just mash G. Because that makes sense. So, thank them for your QuickTime events that you ever so love. Yeah, you know you love those QuickTime Yes, you do. Shut up, man, you do. And the end of Sega consoles is at this time with the Dreamcast. It is definitely the best, I will admit, although I've never played on one. I've seen what it has. It has a game that we kind of need remade, Jet Set Radio Future. It still needs to be remade, even though that's actually a remake of Jet Set Radio. It still needs to be remade.
Jet Set Radio already remade once more.
The first one was remade with Future was now remade.
Future was the remake of Jet Set Radio. But there needs to be a remake of Future because everyone just somehow wants that back. I don't know what the big deal about it is.
Future's better.
I never played either of them, so
Good.
how about you give me a copy and we'll see what happens. I'll be the judge of it. Okay, let's do this. All right, time for those of you to start feeling old. PlayStation 2 was released in 2000. 6 years later was the PlayStation 3. GameCube, 2001. Wii, 2006. DS was 2004. That thing printed money for Nintendo, by the way. In case this wasn't already big enough for you to see. That thing printed money. It is the second best console of all time. It was the second best selling. Number one is PlayStation 2. I don't know why, since all I really use it for is Guitar Hero. I did also play Sly Cooper for it, so I'm getting there. Slowly, because there's way too many titles for it and not enough time for me to play them all. The Xbox was released in 2001 and the 360 was released in 2005. If you're Jesse James Allen, you got to play it early because you were working with it. Alright. 2007 was Wii Fit, bringing fitness into games, and our favorite Nintendo of America CEO, Reggie, saying his body is ready. Because his body is ready. He has to now go back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on his Nintendo 3DS. The Sims in 2000, Guitar Hero 3 in 2007 for creating the hardest song in a rhythm game to date, Through the Fire and Flames by Dragon Force. Rock Band in 2007 as the competitor to Guitar Hero because originally Harmonix was working with the Red Octane to make Guitar Hero. They made 1, 2, and 80s, and then they said, I'm out, and they went to go make Rock Band, which, in my opinion, is still superior. Because it's meant to be played with friends, and it's meant for everyone to have a good time, even if you can't sing. And also a big seller of DLC because I definitely needed the entirety of Boston's launched album from 75 as downloadable tracks for Rock Band. I also needed the entirety of Screaming for Vengeance. Did I also mention I need Outlanders Do More by The Police? Or all of Green Day? Have I demanded Metallica yet? Yes, I have. They don't listen to me. Call of Duty 4 as the only Call of Duty title to get Game of the Year. Yeah, it really was the only one worth it. Well, actually, I'll give Modern Warfare 2 credit. I'll give Modern Warfare 2 a lot of credit because multiplayer was fun, Spec Ops was fun, and the campaign was good. Halo series. It's still going on. It's still going on. They should have ended after 3.
I would have been accepted after 4. Should have ended around that time.
If I had a bottle of vodka, this should honestly be a bottle of vodka so that every time that something stresses me out, I just take a shot.
The more you hear, that could be arranged.
Yes. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas 2004 as a notable banned game because PCs modded back all the stuff. And also, all you had to do was follow the damn train, CJ. He'll also have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, 1 with cheese, 2 number 45s, and a large soda. World of Warcraft 2004. It's still going on. It's still good. How many hours have you synced into it, Ian?
6 years.
Damn, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I sunk about 2,000 into Destiny, so... Destiny 1, that is.
Gotta go get that magic rock.
Alright. So, about the time that my brother graduated high school, 2008 to 2013. Xbox One 2013, PlayStation 4 2013, Wii U 2012. Downloadable contents and season passes. Let's look at Call of Duty for this one. How many they have? One title a year, one season pass, and they're still going. Stop! And this is when your half-done games begin. This is when they start promising you things and they don't deliver. Destiny. Sorry, Dad. You got me into this. You got me into playing Destiny, but I'm sorry. They promised a lot. And then how much money did I have to sink into DLC? An expansion pass?
Let's talk about No Man's Sky.
Oh, we'll get to that one later. That's what we'll talk
I
about.
want to point out, they didn't start that. I have to blame Lionhead for that. With half of their games.
Like Fable.
Fable 2 and all. Fable 1, they did exactly the same.
So both all Fable, let's just say all Fable games. Well, a good bit of Fable towards the end. So Fable 2 and afterwards, they kind of started doing bad because it doesn't work. Also Assassin's Creed Unity.
Black and White. Black and White's where they started it, I would say. Like the original Black and White, over-promising and under-delivering.
Let's also do remember that Assassin's Creed Unity is a game that wasn't finished and they had to spend so much time to patch it.
Let's just think about what.
It's the only game I've ever returned.
Really?
It is the only game I have ever returned.
I bought it.
I have 6 copies of most of my games because I refused to return a game. Unity was the only game I ever took back.
And then you're my brother who's a die-hard Assassin's Creed fan. He suffered through it.
I am too. I did too. I returned it because I was like, I'm gonna let them finish it before I before I actually give them the money for it.
Yeah,
He suffered through it.
I'll wait to
Let's give everyone who actually suffered through those bugs a thumbs up.
But at least Destiny brings people together.
But then it created a master class fight, and then I saw something, actual stats. Warlocks have the most players. Warlocks have the most players compared to Hunters. Sorry, Rod! Hunters actually have less players than Warlock. I saw a stat last night about it. I'm being serious. But enough talking about stuff, because I need to talk about that later.
Titans for the win.
So, this is when video games really become quite memey. As I said, hey, what am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to be professional with this and say they become memes? No, this talks about video game history.
Fair enough.
I took it seriously the first year. I'm still taking it kind of seriously, but I at least want to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about.
If you say so.
Look, hey man, you're just pressing the record button.
Yeah, exactly.
You're pressing the record button, you're having fun with this.
Exactly
So,
right.
yes, video game memes. All you need to do is follow the damn train, CJ. That wizard came from the moon.
My body is ready.
My body is ready.
Assassin's Creed Unity.
Stop reminding me about Unity. I never got past Brotherhood. I was still pissed about the ending of 2. I still am to this day. I played 2 in 2012. I'm still pissed about that ending. Cross-platform is an issue. Why?
Still an issue.
Why? Because we have people that are PC, people that are console, they want to play with each other. The thing is, I don't want to put my money into my PC, and also it's not controller compatible, and PC's deemed master race. Stop whining. Stop whining, and actually people put effort into doing it. Well, it's actually quite difficult, because you have to start getting all the servers together and making sure everything works, and then it's its own separate level of hell. We think Treachery is the 9th level of hell? No. Cross-platform is. Working it isn't.
Early cross-platform.
I'm not going to die. Early cross-platform was hell. And now, this is when Master Race becomes an issue, because you have PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Well, it started with the 360 and the PS3. Everyone was strangling each other to say that Xbox is better and PS3 is better. The Nintendo kids were sitting there eating glue because all they had was Mario Kart and Smash Bros. And all they have really was Mario Kart and Smash Bros. And Legend of Zelda. And Metroid Prime 4 when it comes out.
Assuming it's not like another Duke Nukem.
Let's not talk about that. I'll talk about that later though. So some notable things at this time, recently. Dark Souls. Its difficulty. Yeah, you like that death screen, don't you?
Yeah.
You like the death screen, so when that windscreen happens, it feels all the more... Okay, please, let's keep it PG. Or PG-13, let's not jump the R rating. Battlefield 4. I felt, as Daniel Rockwell said, he fell through the floor, but he could still hear everything, so the EA sound guys did their job. But the game developers didn't. They pushed it mainly because they needed to upgrade the platform to Xbox One and PS4. Destiny 2014. It was hyped. That in the end, when you buy it off the shelf, then I think I had to sink $35 into an expansion pass. And then I also want to get that nice emote, so I need to sink another couple bucks in there. And then I also have my friends that want to play it, so they're sinking the money into it. This is when your microtransactions really get big. Amiibos, the collectible little things that Nintendo have made, and I still love them.
Physical DLC.
It's physical DLC, but I love them. All I need is an entire shelf of Fire Emblem characters, and I'm okay. All of the Fire Emblem characters, even the ones that aren't in Smash, I just want Fire Emblem characters. Remastering of games. COD 4 remastered. Dark Souls remastered. Now Dark Souls remastered, I should say. Any other remastered games?
Last of Us remastered.
Last of Us remastered. Crash Bandicoot remastered. Skyrim on the freaking refrigerator for all I care at this point.
Hey, I've got 7 copies of it.
I'll still play it.
I saw something yesterday on Twitter, and it said, I'm going to confirm Skyrim for the Tamagotchi.
I'll still play it.
I'm buying the Alexa for it.
I think we have 2 Alexas, so we can play Skyrim.
Yeah, we could do that.
That'll be fun. Call of Duty franchise is now also the most reused franchise. Alright, let's start talking about some new things. VR and AR. Pokemon Go, when I first gave this talk, actually was taking the world by storm. Everyone was posting pictures of their Pokemon on people's heads, at dinner tables, wherever they could possibly find it. They take a picture of it and put it on the internet and show everybody. Why? Because VR and AR are freaking cool. Well, VR if you have the whole headset. AR if I'm just going to take my phone out, if my shirt would comply, and be playing the game here, and I have a Pokemon spawning right now between you two, James and Valencia. If I have a Pokemon spawning right there, oh my god, it's awesome! It still is. The PlayStation VR in October of 2016, yeah, that wasn't that long ago. But at this point, what they're trying to do is put the VR and AR capabilities in the hands of the consumer so that they can use it. The HTC Vive in April of 2016, the HoloLens in March of 2016. Dad, you've been working with HoloLens for how long? You've been working almost since launch. And this is the future. What university was it that confirmed they were making something to help the disabled with HoloLens?
Yeah.
Which university?
There was actually, I mean, it was the University of California. I don't remember which campus.
Well, the University of California now.
The blind that they will be able to navigate places.
Well, University of California helping out with the disabled, trying to navigate locations. This is the future. Now let's talk about what we got now. As I said that this is a 4K compatible talk, you will probably be able to get this in 4K. No, you won't. I only did this so that I would actually get approved. Mainly because 4K is the now. You got 4K copies of movies, 4K video games, 4K monitors, 4K phones probably, for all I care. Probably not. But
Extra razor.
I should have switched to Galaxy. But I don't mind that case. And to just even emphasize how 4K is now, the PS4 Pro was released in November of 2016. 4K compatible. The Nintendo Switch isn't 4K compatible, but that was released in March 2017, and it was the first home console that could be taken on the go. So all you do is click the controllers in and take it with you wherever you go. Xbox One X, November 2017, 4K compatible, and you can develop on it. Suck on that, PlayStation. And esports has become big at this time. How much money can you win from League of Legends? 7 digits. 7 digits grand prizes for league competitions. Overwatch competitions, even though I don't want to acknowledge I was an Overwatch player at this point because they took Mercy, dug her a ditch, threw her in there, buried her.
Yeah, I can still play.
Shut up, man. Just because I leave the meta for like only a year, you expect me to come back?
I'll teach you.
How much?
Come play the game.
Let's look at what we got now. Destiny 2. Now it's 4K compatible. 4K awfulness. You got a great story, but no end game, and I'm still paying for DLC.
The story was the same as the first one. Go find a magic rock.
Battlefield 1. Wait, they're starting to do free... Wait. I wrote that right. Am I dreaming? I actually wrote that EA is now doing free DLC.
That's great.
No, they know what they've made. They know that all the microtransactions from all these years have been building up to something. Sonic Mania 2017. We're trying to still revitalize our old mascots from consoles. Mario, though, will never die. But Luigi's superior. Sonic Mania 2017. Let him die! The lifespan of hedgehogs isn't even that long. Knuckles should be dead. Because echidnas can only live for 16 years. Call of Duty 4 remastered. Stop! Let's talk about something good. Clone Hero 2017. I'm guessing with that one. There is no actual release date of when Clone Hero Build 1 was released. It's a Guitar Hero clone that is run by the community for the community. They give everybody the materials they need online for free to make their own songs for it. If you have the MP3 file, you can make a song. Because Harmonix, while they were doing great with letting people do their own songs with the Rock Band Network, after Rock Band 3, when they all went out, it was done. So Clone Heroes come back and has actually created something good for the community. It's still an alpha build. And it's very good. It's a very well done game using the exact same mechanics as Guitar Hero. And I might even say even better. You can customize it yourself, put your own highways, put your own backgrounds. It's by the community for the community. That's a good thing. That's what should be done. And to save the best for last, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, contender, one of the best games of all time. Or is it the best game of all time, I should say. So with all this greatness that we have done over the years, we can never forget the mistakes we've made. Nintendo CDI, Bubsy the Bobcat. There was a joke that they were trying to bring him back.
They did. It's on Steam. $30. It's not as bad as Frosting. Frosting. It's not good, but it's not bad.
They say third time's the charm, but now we're at 4. Movie-based video games are amazing, but their alternative versions are awful. The X-Men Origins Wolverine game, that was awesome.
Shadows of War Tangling Unity.
There we go.
Here versus Panic.
Wow! But the game-based movies are just bad. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up as quickly as I can, get through everything. And the hardest thing to do is pleasing the community. As I said, open source is definitely the best way to go, because the community does what they need and gets it to them. Oversaturation is a thing that we need to talk about, and needs to be talked about now. And I hope everyone on the internet finds this and listens to me. I'm going to show you what oversaturation is.
Stop battling.
I pulled everything from my house that I own of this. And, my God, this is every single Guitar Hero game ever made. I'm going to show you what oversaturation is. Also Rock Band, because they're technically the same mechanic.
No, you got it.
I still love these games to death. Fight me. Oh no! They keep releasing, I keep buying. Why? Because that's how the market is. That's how companies do it to you.
They keep making new music. You gotta keep getting CDs.
see it in the camera?
Oh, yeah. They're dead center.
Every single Guitar Hero and Rock Band game ever made. Almost. I don't have Green Day in here, but that's just... my point is, this is what oversaturation looks like. And to continue showing you what it looks like, just to drive the point home even further, because I need to be unnecessary with this. That is my entire collection of plastic instruments for this game series.
That's the first floor of my house.
Keep supporting.
I'm sorry that I have my tastes.
You're part of the problem.
Everyone's part of the problem. Why are we blaming me specifically for this?
He thinks the first floor of the house was taken.
It's not just also a Guitar Hero Rock Band of oversaturating the market with it. That's why the game series died out for a bit. It was... It's also the first-person shooters. Call of Duty, Battlefield. How many of them are there? How many different versions of shooters do we have? Way too many. Battle Royales. Fortnite is hurting itself. Why? Because it's overdoing itself. It's putting itself out there and shoving it down your throat saying, Fortnite, Fortnite, Fortnite. That is oversaturation. Because how many different Battle Royale games do we have?
Too many.
Way too many. Because you know what's going to happen next? Fortnite's going to be the next Guitar Hero. It's going to die out. Eventually. Any Battle Royale game is going to die out.
Just burn to this.
Burn the companies.
Just burn it.
So, what's next?
Burning.
What's next after all this? We're actually hurting ourselves. What do we do next?
8K.
Yes, 8K actually. 8K, and we put our hands in the indie developers because they give us what we want. A Hat in Time? That was indie, right?
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Soundtrack, gameplay, everything. It's well done. The indie developer is the future. Stop. I'm not going to tell you to stop buying your AAA games because I know you're going to do it anyway.
Look pretty good. Go Tsushima.
Keep in mind with buying.
Yeah, just don't put too much faith. Another question, why aren't we happy with what we have? We put too much expectations on the developer, and then they feel all the pressure, and then they try to put it out there for the market for everyone to have. Destiny could have been good. It could have been good from the beginning, having everything. Destiny 2 was supposed to have all the old locations from Destiny 1 brought back into the game from the start. You would have controls in a new social space. But what happened? The community started expecting so much. Activision started pushing them to scrap everything and push the game out as fast as they can. So what do we get? We're missing a lot of things. We're missing a lot of things, and we're pissed at the companies. And we should be pissed at ourselves. So stop expecting the companies. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to try to get through this as fast as I can. What's the best game of all time? Well, we can't say because we haven't stopped making games.
Well, previous time we could guess.
But we can't really say anything. Is there a master race? No. No, there's not. We all need each other. I need Ian as Ian needs James. James needs Bass. We all need each other because we're a community. We need to stop ripping our throats out about PC being better or PlayStation being better or Xbox being better and just say, hey, I like video games, you like video games, let's play some video games.
Example, I have them all.
Let's hook up a 64, play some Smash Bros. Or let's get all the plastic instruments, play some Rock Band.
We do need to do that.
Or we can also gather around and play Bloodborne by switching the controller every time we die. I actually did that, and I would love to say that if only the two people I actually did that with were here, Cody and Aubrey. They're not here, so we can't really do anything, because anyway, I can't even say the name of her character, because I would get censored on stream for that.
We're not live, so I can manage that.
Oh, I also don't want to manage with YouTube. Any questions? Let's go ahead and start doing some Q&A while we got time. Questions, comments, concerns, cries of outrage? Yes?
When do you think it's time to remaster a game?
I personally think, let me answer your question with an example. Growing up in the Obando household, I had a Nintendo 64 and a PlayStation 1. I played a lot of Super Smash Bros. And Pokemon Stadium for the 64, and I played a lot of Tony Hawk. I personally think that we need to remaster Tony Hawk 3. No one's going to do that. Because no one's asking for it. People do it when they're they only remaster games when they ask for it. Everyone suddenly started asking about Crash Bandicoot. So what did we get? We got a remaster with the Insane Trilogy. There is no real time to remaster it unless the market needs it. It's really satisfying the market, and that's a hard thing to do. Let's keep it going. Any other questions? Bass.
So when they do remaster games, who do you look for? Do you look for them to stay with the original content? Do you want them to kind of like mix up things like they did with Resident Evil 2? Because they changed the mindset.
Keep the core of what the game was. That's the main thing they need to do. If they don't keep the core of the game, then you're not remastering it, you're just redoing it. Because a true remaster of a game would be, I would take Tony Hawk 3 and then I just bring it up to the most modern graphics I can and don't touch anything else. This wouldn't be a remaster if I took the first 3 Harmonix Guitar Hero games and put them all into one, that you can switch different characters, you can play all the characters and all the different outfits. That really isn't a remaster, it's sort of a remaster, but it's not a remaster, because you're combining things with it. If you introduce a couple of small new things with it, that's okay. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker Remaster for Wii U, that added a couple of things to it that didn't really detract from the core of the game. So, does that answer your question? Any other questions?
So how can you tell if something's a trend? Like in my opinion, Battle Royale's a trend because it's gonna die. How can you tell something's actually gonna stay? Like FPS, because that's still going.
The question, what she's asking is, how do you know what's a trend, what's not? That's a hard one to answer because everyone changes, so the trends change. If you see that, usually the trends start on Twitch. So your Twitch streamers are gonna be playing the next big thing. I remember I would get email notifications. I get email notifications of Professor Roman and King Athalion and what they play. About a few months back, I started noticing during the Destiny drought between content, they started playing Fortnite. So I said, "Oh, okay, they're switching up the games." And then I started seeing other streamers playing Fortnite, and then I started seeing on Twitter Fortnite, and then I realized, oh, Fortnite's the next big thing. I'm personally not buying into it because I don't want to believe the hype and then go in and personally be disappointed. Question?
Well, it's actually an addition.
Okay.
In general, watching a lot of patterns for games, Twitch streamers or streamers in general tend to show that pattern early on. You get the really large streamers, and then if you watch the smaller streamers, you'll see them fluctuate really rapidly during those games. So, for example, Fortnite, you'll see huge fluctuations in smaller streamers, while larger streamers will have a very consistent viewing of that game.
So you have to make a name for yourself when you're streaming. There's actually a graph that goes with this. I don't have it saved here, but you have those that started early, then you have those that start following, then you reach the height of it, then it starts to die down, then you have the laggards at the end that just get into it when it's over. I don't have that chart, but it's actually very useful for explaining this sort of thing.
I have a bunch of that information if you're interested.
So if you want to learn more about how trends are started, Ian can definitely talk to you about that. But, yeah.
It's curious because technically people thought FPS was a trend when it first started.
It's still around.
Still around.
It's obviously not a trend. Shooters are here to stay. Platformers are still around here to stay as well, Mario. But, of course, we've had them around since the 80s. So, they're not going away anytime soon. They're a staple genre for video games. Same with action-adventure. So when Breath of the Wild was released, everyone lost their minds. Because a staple name is coming back. Any other questions? If not, then I guess that will be it for Patches Engine Glitch 2.5.7.1. The more and more that we make, the more and more there will be. So if you want, just go ahead and stay. You either can stay in here for the art talk that is going to be here, soon, or you can go see Joe Caswell talk about the mistakes that he's made in his career. Thank you.